Okay, and then your senior year, you had a chance to be a part of the championship winning team,
Yes.
and of course contribute. How did that impact your how did that impact how you were being recruited? Because they saw you in the summer, and now you also have a championship under your belt.
Well, my team was very, very good. We were state champions the year before, like I said, and we had a lot of guys coming back, plus me.
Okay.
And I think from that team we had about 5 or 6 guys go D1, like major D1 schools. And so we ended up playing well. I played well. I had no problems fitting in with the guys. I knew them pretty much since junior high school.
Right.
And yeah, I was able to show what I was capable of. And we had the leading scoring team in the state. We had the leading scorer in the state on my team. And we just played really well and won the second championship. The recruitment was heavy. It was really heavy. I got recruited by a lot of teams, a lot of schools. My senior year was very hectic. I wouldn't want to go back to that time.
Okay.
At least if I knew what I know now,
Yeah.
of course I would like to go back. But of course I didn't have someone to guide me
Right.
or my family, and there was a lot of things that we weren't prepared for. Just the sheer amount of telephone calls, letters, just it was crazy. It was insane, and I wasn't even I wasn't the Chris Webber, who was the #1 player in the country. He's in my year. I can't imagine what it was like for him.
Right.
But I was very highly touted, and just the coaches outside your door. We had to change our phone number.
Wow.
My girlfriend at the time got phone calls, trying to persuade her. There were offers of money. It was really incredible. I think the rules have changed now, so it's not as probably stressful for those kids. But
I hope
back
so.
then it was just a all out full court press on me, and yeah, and it was on the one side it was flattering
Right.
to get these coaches. I had coaches sitting in my living room that I knew from TV, and so it was pretty cool on the one hand, but on the other hand, it was really a lot for a 17-year-old kid and his family to go through.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to comment on the process. You mentioned the telephone calls and the letters, and when you look at the way things are today, we have Huddle. You can create your own highlight. You can send it, so
Yep.
it's more impersonal, I would say, because you can just send emails. You don't really have to talk to people on the phone. But you touched a little bit on the process. But could you say a little bit more about the process as far as making the long distance calls? Because back then making long distance calls for free wasn't a thing. You needed a phone card, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
Now in most people in your cell phone plan it's nationwide,
Right.
for the most part. But back then you said people showing up at your house.
Yeah.
You had long telephone calls, and it's not your cell phone. You can't go out of the room. It's it's the phone, maybe in the kitchen where
Yeah,
everybody's
exactly.
there. So
Exactly. Yeah.
what was that process in general? I mean, I know it was hectic, but just when you compare the way recruiting was then, I mean, you coached here
Right.
later on, so you
Right.
know the process was. If you compare how recruiting was done then in comparison to how recruiting is done now, as far as just from the change in technology,
Exactly.
what could you say about that?
I mean, it's clear technology has changed how a lot of players are recruited, or the whole recruiting process in general. I like to tell everybody I'm like an ancient dinosaur. I'm the old head that was at a time where I was getting faxes. My what is it? My mailman had to bring boxes with all these letters. He
Right.
couldn't even stuff them in my envelope, So yeah, it was a wild time. There were many times where I think if I was growing up now, it would have been a lot easier. But just based on purely on technology,
Right.
with emails and things like that, I can remember the first college letter that I got was from the University of Nevada, Reno. I'll never forget that. And I don't even know if kids today are getting excited when they get that first letter, or if it comes per email now.
Right.
It's a totally different way. I think the time when I grew up, yeah, like you said, I was having phone calls from coaches from all around the country in my kitchen,
Right.
With the phone on the wall, with the cord.
You're right.
I'm walking around, the cord is wrapping around my waist and stuff, and the whole family's sitting there, and there's no privacy
Right.
and things like that. We got phone calls all hours of the night. There was no switching it off. That's just the way it was back then. And I think now these guys are, they have a better way of maybe funneling the flow of the information,
Right.
and not to mention that they can make their own hype videos. They can do these things that I wasn't able to do.
Right.
The coaches literally had to come to the gym and watch me, or come to the tournaments to watch. And I think now the technology has changed so much that it's probably a lot easier on guys nowadays coming out.
Right. It's a lot easier, and in some cases, it's easier for them to create distance between the situation. Like you
Exactly.
said, they can just turn their phone off, or they can just not answer the emails or the messages.
Exactly. For
Whereas if
me,
someone shows up at your door, yes, you can act like you're not home, but maybe they were outside before and can hear people inside. So it's a little bit
exactly. I would wake up in the morning about to go to school, and there would be 3 cars sitting in my driveway or on the street, and I've got to walk past 3 coaches, say, be respectful, good morning, how you doing, coach, et cetera, and then go to my school. And then at my school, then there were a couple of coaches coming by and pulling me out of my class. I got a funny story when I was being recruited from UNLV. UNLV at that time was the cream of the crop of college basketball, and that was a time when those guys were just legends in Las Vegas, and to be recruited by them was an honor for me, of course.
Right.
And one time, the coach, Jerry Tarkanian, I'll never forget, he came to my school to visit, and they pulled me out of class, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Tark is here! Tark is well, he's talking to Sean." And I tried to play it cool, but inside my heart was beating like crazy. And I mean, we talked for 5 minutes, but that kind of thing. I don't even know if players these days have that, if they have access to these young guys nowadays like it was back then. I think the rules have changed quite a bit, but that was a big deal. I had Lute Olson come watch one of my practices one time. He's a Hall of Fame coach, just like Tarkanian. That those are moments that you as a 17, 16-year-old kid, you never forget.
Right. Right.